The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.
The Stanley Cup playoffs are in full swing, and even if there are no women on the ice, they're playing a bigger part in the game at every level. Tonight, we're looking at women in hockey today and their potential for a more secure place on the professional landscape. Also, he's the first fan to be inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame. Raptors superfan Nav Bhatia joins us on his big league trajectory. It's Tuesday, June the 8th, and that's ahead on the agenda. On and off the ice, roles for women in hockey and the potential for a lasting career in the sport are evolving. And top of mind is always, what's the future of women's professional hockey? Let's get into that with Erica Ayala, broadcaster and analyst for the National Women's Hockey League and contributor to the sports website, The Athletic. She joins us from East Harlem in New York City. And in our nation's capital, former college and pro hockey player Jacqueline Hawkins. She's founder of the online platform and community Women's Hockey Life, and a podcast host at The Hockey News. And in St. Catharines, Ontario, Megan Chaika, co-founder of the sports analytics company Stathletes, and a data scientist in residence at the University of Toronto's Rotman School of Management, and may I add, a very brave person to be sporting Leaf paraphernalia in the background of her shot. Very brave of you indeed, Megan. Anyways, great to welcome you three onto the agenda tonight. I want to just start by reading this background piece here, and then I'll get all of you to weigh in on it. In 2019, the CWHL, that's the Canadian Women's Hockey League, ceased operations. Unfortunately, while the on-ice hockey is exceptional, the CWHL said, the business model has proven to be economically unsustainable. And this has left the American-based National Women's Hockey League, the NWHL. In the spring of 2019, the Professional Women's Hockey Players Association, PWHPA, was created, and its mission is to, quote, create a sustainable league that pays a living wage to players, provides elite-level resources, and invests in marketing that showcases the player and the game. And some people may well know the final three games of the PWHPA Dream Gap Tour was televised on Sportsnet in May, and highlights and clips were shown during the broadcasts of the NHL playoff games. And I tell you, that was some good hockey, and I remember somebody sniping and knocking a water bottle off the top of the net, which is a real talent if you can do that. That was a heck of a highlight. Anyway, let's go around here. Megan, get us started. How would you characterize the state of the women's game today?
I would say hopeful. I mean, obviously, there's still a lot of work to be done. You look at the target and the mission of the PWHPA of making a living wage and having, endorsements and sponsorships, not just for the select few elite players, but sustainability for every player, every professional player involved at that level in the game. So I think whether it's the NWHL or the PWHPA, there's still a lot of work to be done. However, I would add to that list that NBC also televised the PWHPA Dream Gap, I believe in St. Louis and Chicago, as well as the NWHL finals. So that was a big breakthrough in the US, not only in Canada.
Good. Erica, your view.
I would agree with a lot of what Megan said. There's definitely a lot of hope. There's definitely a lot of work to be done. And something else that I think women's hockey has an advantage on is that they can be very innovative. We've seen a little bit of that, certainly in the PWHPA Dream Gap Tour this cycle, the NWHL also trying to be a little bit more innovative. So that's what I'm looking forward to when it comes to the future of women's hockey.
Jacqueline, how do you see it?
The word I would use is optimistic. Optimistic, and I'm encouraged. I grew up not seeing any of this. The PWHPA didn't exist. The NWHL didn't exist. So for little girls now growing up and being able to see Marie-Philippe Poulin, Hilary Knight, Brianna Decker, all these amazing athletes on TV to aspire to play in these leagues, it's really encouraging. And I'm optimistic about where this is heading. But again, there's still a lot of work to be done.
I appreciate the optimism, but Erica, you'll understand that it's sort of my job to, not to be a killjoy here, but to point out some obvious drawbacks. Namely, you've got one league, the Canadian League, which has been in hiatus basically for a couple of years. And I wonder how concerned you were about the future of professional women's hockey when the Canadian League went into stasis.
I would say that there were certainly concerns, more so because the opportunity for players that compete at the international level, the professional leagues, although not perfect still, are extremely important to get that repetition for those North American teams and the European teams that compete, internationally. So there was a little bit of trepidation or curiosity as to how that would play out at the international level. But we've seen the resilience of women's sport. We've seen the resilience of women's hockey. So again, there is a lot of work to do. And it's not perfect. There's still a lot to be sorted out. But overall, I'd have to agree with the rest of the panel that I am going to always bet on women.
Megan, I guess we all mentioned a little while ago that the Dream Gap Tour was televised and that there were clips played during the intermissions of the National Hockey League playoff games. So that's potentially millions of eyeballs getting a chance to look at women's hockey outside of the Olympic Games. Maybe for the first time ever. And I'm wondering what you think that potentially can accomplish.
I think it's incredibly important, one, obviously for exposure, like you're saying, but also to normalize it. I mean, these are elite level athletes. They compete for Canada or the US in many cases. At the Olympics, like you said, they stand on the podium, we hear their anthem. There's no reason for them not to be in our day-to-day for those other 3 years in between the Olympics. So I think it's incredible, and that momentum should continue. And people that have those platforms and scale have no reason but not to put them on that.
Well, let's state the obvious here, and that is unlike the male professional hockey players in the NHL or the American Hockey League, etc., women need other jobs. They cannot live on their salaries of playing professional hockey. So, Jacqueline, start us off on this. What is life like for women playing professional hockey these days?
So I actually played in the CWHL before it went away, and I was a full-time coach. I worked, at the youth hockey organization in Connecticut, and I would drive an hour and a half to Boston every day and go to practice and come back and jump on buses and get back at 3 a.m. You do it because you love the game. Right. And we're like the players now, and even today in the PWHPA, the NWHL, even playing overseas, they're going to say the same thing. Like they're trying to build a foundation so that the next generation can benefit from what we're doing. And it's a grind at the end of the day. It is a grind. You've got full-time jobs. I've got a lot of friends that play in the PWHPA and the NWHL, and they do have full-time jobs. So it's a lot. But again, it's that passion. It's I'm playing the game because I love it. And if I can help build the future of women's hockey and create the sustainable league that we're all talking about, then it's worth it. It's not about me, it's about the game. It's about growing the game.
I understand it's really inappropriate to ask people how much money they make, but I do want to give our listeners and viewers a sense of, well, let me put it this way. If you're a coach in the National Hockey League, you're making anywhere from $2 to $5 million a year. I think yes. Mike Babcock actually made more than that when he coached the Leafs. How much did you get paid to coach?
When I got paid to coach, I started at $26,000 a year coaching at UConn, NCAA Division I. My first job out of college, that's what I got paid. And obviously I had to make do. I had 2 roommates and lived a good life, because you get accommodated by the university as well with food and clothes and traveling and everything else. But I was so passionate about coaching and I loved what I did that it was worth it to me. And eventually I got up to $50,000. Head coaches at the collegiate level make more than that. You can make 6 figures, but you got to work your way up.
And UConn is University of Connecticut, just for a Canadian audience that
thank you.
You weren't up in the
that,
territory,
yeah.
is what I'm trying to say. Okay, good. Erica, talk to us about healthcare coverage. How big a deal is that? And can you get that when you play pro hockey as a woman?
Well, to answer the last question, no. Certainly not if you are not with your national team. I just had a conversation with Jana Hefford, and the USA Hockey and Hockey Canada did help cover the PWHPA for their tournament. But outside of that, if you're playing in the PWHPA, if you're playing in the NWHL, while you're covered on the ice, if you stub your toe while working your other job, hopefully you have health coverage there. But if you were to have the sniffles or something else to that effect, that would not be covered as a professional hockey player. And I think that there's an opportunity again to not operate in a scarcity mindset and to really think more not just about salaries, but about a complete package for professional hockey players. Of course, that comes with money, but I'd like women's hockey to really live from an abundance mindset. Elevate those salaries, elevate the full package, just as you would if you were working a desk job, a traditional 9 to 5, or maybe work from home these days. And that's something that women's hockey has to do moving forward.
Okay, Megan, Erica mentioned salaries, so let's get a sense about what the range is for professional female hockey players. How much money do most of them make? How much can you make? Fill us in.
That's a good question. I mean, I think the PWHPA is basically not salaried at all, right? They're just playing to hopefully a future where they do have a living wage. The NWHL, I believe they move the salary up to $12,000 the next season. So there is a wage there, a lot less games than, let's say, an NHL player. So you're looking at, you can balance work and being a professional hockey player and not have that completely interfere. But for sure, if you look at, the 1,000 times, 100,000 times more that men are making, it leads a lot to be wanted from.
No, for sure. But who might be the highest paid female hockey player in North America today, in any sense about how much money she'd be making? Erica, want to weigh in?
I think what I would say is that I'm not sure that we know. To Megan's point, the PWHPA is more operating on a stipend because of the partnerships that they were able to receive. There will be an increase of the overall salary cap to $300,000 per team in the NWHL. It sounds like, at least for the Riveters, which is the team closest to me, that they're probably going to tap out at about $30,000 for the upcoming season. But then you have players like a Hillary Knight, a Marie-Philippe Poulin, a Sarah Nurse, who have endorsements, sponsorships, because they are professional hockey players, but we don't really have a good sense of what that tagline is and how much the highest paid professional hockey player, women's professional hockey player, is getting just to play hockey, and or what that looks like throughout her whole business portfolio.
Jacqueline, I know that, anybody who plays sports, pretty much anybody, wants to go as far as they possibly can go. And obviously for men, that means someday making the National Hockey League. As women start playing hockey, as young girls, they go from tyke to peewee, all the way up to college. In your view, is there the infrastructure, is there the opportunity for young girls to develop their game and go as far as they can go?
100%. More so ever than, again, when I was a little kid. And that's, I guess, where the optimism comes from me, is there's so many more opportunities now than there were when I was a kid. And like you said, from tyke Timbits or to peewee to Bantam to midget, all the way to college, university. But even you can go play professionally overseas. And that's the other piece that, if like I knew I wasn't going to play on the Canadian Olympic team. I got cut. Under 22, I was done. Skating, not up to par. It's all good. I wasn't good enough. I can swallow that pill now. But what else could I do? I still loved the game and I still wanted to play. So I went and played in Switzerland for a year, and I got paid. And I actually got paid enough that I could live and travel Europe. It was amazing. A flight was paid for, accommodations were paid for. And there's opportunities all over Europe like that, in Finland, Sweden, Russia, China. I've got former players that I coached in university that are, playing in the women's version of the KHL. So it's actually called the WHL. And they're making way more than I ever did playing in Switzerland. So there are other opportunities. It's just a matter of, it always gets back to, what do you want? What's the experience you want to have? What's the life you want to live? You can play in Italy and Austria. There's so many opportunities out there. It doesn't just have to be North America if you want to keep playing the game that you love.
Well, Erica, maybe I can get you to weigh in on that, because I imagine that there are a lot of talented women hockey players who play, let's say, NCAA hockey in the United States. They play college. It's elite level hockey for women. But when they're done their schooling, Do they have place to go after that if they want to keep playing?
Well, the answer is yes, and potentially no, depending on what they want to do regarding continuing education, where they want to live, if they have other responsibilities, if they want to have a lucrative career on the ice in North America? The answer is no. But to Jacqueline's point, and we also have seen this in women's soccer, we've seen this in women's basketball. The WNBA is considered the best professional option for women to play basketball in the entire world. It is not by far the best paying option for women in the entire world, especially if you are at the elite level. There are WNBA players that, because their WNBA All-Stars make upwards of $500,000 million contracts to play overseas because of the value that the European system in particular, but also Russia, China, as Jacqueline mentioned, Switzerland in ice hockey. You can get paid big money to play ice hockey, to play soccer, to play basketball overseas, but we're not seeing that translate to the North American market. And so, yes, you can make money. You can be a professional ice hockey player or professional athlete. If you want to do that in North America, the option just doesn't exist in the same way.
Well, I'm glad you've opened this door because, Megan, I want us to walk through it right now. One of the things I've never understood, the Women's National Basketball Association has been around for 25 years. It has a relationship with the National Basketball Association. They've got, there's marketing, games are televised, contracts are big. Many of the female players are famous. Why has that model somehow not caught on for professional hockey in North America?
Well, I'd say the WNBA is the exception, not the rule, right? You don't see a lot of other male leagues supporting women's leagues as well. So to just say, well, the NHL should have a women's league is quite the jump in terms of stability, scale, capital, especially business model, like we were chatting about earlier. So even though I think it could be a very viable option in the future, I don't think it's simplistic in its approach. And I think that, there's a lot of challenges in the current environment with COVID, with the pandemic, with budgets. So I think, even looking at the NWSL, what they're doing, bringing on big time investors, celebrities in many cases, and trying to build a league through that type of model is intriguing for hockey as well.
Well, let's just put a quote up here. This is what the Deputy Commissioner of the National Hockey League, a guy by the name of Bill Daly, here's what he had to say in 2019 after the Canadian Women's League closed down. He said, as long as elite women's hockey players have professional opportunities, it is not an environment we are prepared to wade into in any formal way. We have always supported professional women's hockey, and we plan to continue to do so. That doesn't mean we need to form or directly subsidize an existing professional hockey league. Erica, what's your reaction to that?
Where to start? It's a little bit disheartening. However, I'm really glad that Megan broke down that the WNBA is certainly the exception and not the rule. And what I will say is that the late Commissioner David Stern, he was the driving force. Given that quote, I don't see in the near future the NHL being the driving force to the NHL supporting women's hockey. We have seen one-offs, including the PWHPA tour that was hosted by Calgary, and Calgary has had a relationship with women's hockey in the past. The Maple Leafs, the Rangers. We can go on and on, team by team, but we're just not seeing that at the front office NHL level. I also like what Megan said about women investing in other women's sports. You have Kendall Coyne-Schofield is a part owner of the Chicago Red Stars in the NWSL. You don't see that yet happening in women's hockey. You see that there are companies that are run by women that are supporting women's hockey, but we haven't yet seen women that have the capital to purchase teams do that. We've seen a little bit of ownership in the National Women's Hockey League here in the United States, but still not really women at the helm. And I do wonder if that would make a difference. I think in the short term and intermediate, women's hockey would benefit greatly from looking at a different and more innovative model than what the WNBA has in its 25th season. And a reminder that in 2019, that's when we start getting the $500,000 salaries for your top tier WNBA players. That's very new. The salary cap for the NWHL that they just signed off on that will happen next season is almost equal to what the WNBA had for a 12 roster team in 1997. And it took years to increase that. Hockey is more expensive any way you slice it. And so I think that women's hockey would benefit from looking at investors that truly want to be a part of women's sports.
No, I appreciate that position. And of course, the WNBA, you're quite right, has a 25-year head start on its relationship with the NBA that clearly men's and women's hockey doesn't have. But having said that, I do want to ask Jacqueline about whether or not, well, let's put it this way. It wouldn't take, if Wayne Gretzky said he wanted to run a team, if Gary Bettman said some nice things about this, if Mario Lemieux said, he was interested in supporting a team as well, it would only presumably take a few champions for a relationship between women's hockey and the NHL to exist. And then presumably you're off to the races. How disappointed are you that none of that's happened yet?
It's honestly, you said Gary Bettman, like he's been quoted officially, unofficially saying, like, until there's one league, we're not going to support this or engage in this or do something with this. And to Erica's point and even Megan's point, like it's finding investors that are willing to believe in the product, but the product has to come first, right? Like we need to put the best players on the ice at one time and not have competing leagues. So it's more about unifying, bringing the women's hockey community together and figuring out how can we do this. And then it is going to, maybe we don't need the NHL. I'll be controversial here. Maybe we don't need the NHL. We don't need Gary Bettman. It's the NHL owners. It's other business owners that maybe are run by women or men. I don't care, as long as you have the desire to grow the game and help these women live their passion and provide entertainment and do what they do on the ice. Where the money comes from is irrelevant. It's more providing these sustainable outlets for these amazingly talented female hockey players to play the game and put the best on the ice. It's going to be like the Olympics every weekend.
Well, okay. Since you've opened the door here to the issue of unifying women's hockey, let's go here. And Megan, let me start with you on this. I mean, if we do go back to the middle 1970s, there was a rival men's hockey league, the WHA, the World Hockey Association, and the creation of two rival leagues, NHL and WHA, meant that hockey was a somewhat dicey proposition for a while. And eventually they merged, and hockey has now never been more financially secure. Does that necessarily have to happen for women's hockey before any meaningful progress is going to be made?
I don't think it has to happen, but I think from a business perspective, I look at startups and businesses that acquire companies or figure out a way to merge, and they're always stronger, right? You have scale, you have more market. I think especially for Canadian players, it's incredibly important to have a footprint in the US. So I foresee one league being better for everyone involved, including the players. And at the level that they're at right now, they should be playing each other. We want to see that quality of competition as well.
Erica, do we need one women's professional hockey league?
In short, I would say no. I appreciate what Megan is saying about the business model, and we haven't seen a successful business model for women's hockey. I appreciate what Jacqueline is saying about there being all eyes on the best athletes at all times. But I don't think we're at a shortage of talent in women's hockey. I think the structure and unfortunately the lack of relationship and whether it's a merger proper or not has created this community and this culture where unfortunately we don't get to see all of the best talent playing. Right now, if you're a women's hockey player, there's only a handful of cities that you can play in. And if you're not able to relocate, or if you're not interested in relocating, then you either are going to Europe, But arguably, if you don't want to move from Boston to Minnesota, you're probably not going to move from Boston to Switzerland, then you are not playing hockey. And I think we're missing out on a lot of talent that maybe isn't going to play for their national team or doesn't anymore play for their national team, but would absolutely be fantastic to watch in a professional league. But right now, it just seems as though there's not a real interest, and there's some history behind there, but there's not an interest right now in the PWHPA and the NWHL having a meeting of minds where they can even do showcases where they're competing against each other.
All right, Jacqueline, we got one yes vote. We got one no vote. You're going to have to break the tie.
Honestly, Erica, I love you. I respect you, Megan. I love and respect both you guys and what you do. But at the end of the day, no one's going to go and pay and watch somebody play unless they're an Olympian or an elite NCAA Division I player. Like, to me, that's why we're not making this progress. Is if I'm a business, if I had $10 million to give, and obviously my business is women's hockey, like, I want to invest in the best hockey players in the world. And like, we're just talking North America right now. Think about bringing the Finns and the Swedes and the Russians and the Swiss players over. I believe there needs to be one league, and before we can get more investment, before we can get more eyeballs, it's you got to see it to believe it. And I think what the PWHPA is doing, I know NWHL was on Twitch and everything else. Throw out a curveball here. Why not have a feeder system like the NHL? Why not have an AHL of women's hockey? Why? Maybe, Erica, maybe you're right. Like, we don't need to compete. They're actually, so I'm going to go back and take my words back and say, hey, why not two leagues, but they're different? It's like, they got the East Coast League, the AHL, the NHL. Why not have a feeder system? So it's college university hockey for women to we'll call it an NAHL. I'm just making up stuff here, to an NHL for a WNHL for women. Again, I just like to think creatively outside the box. And yes, they need healthcare. Yes, they need supplemental income, but there's other ways we can do that. Why not run a camp every summer? Marie-Philippe Poulin, I know she does stuff other there, but like any PWHPA, NWHL player, like you can create other revenues of income, but you got to be creative and you got to be willing to do the work. You can't just have your hand out and say, I deserve this because of this. It's like, no, like you just like you just said, 1970s, there was two competing leagues. I have one of my best friends, her dad played in the NHL in the 70s and 80s, and he came home and worked on a farm. He doesn't have a retirement fund. He put in the work that basically these women are now doing today. However many years later.
Sorry, go ahead, Erica.
I'm sorry. I was just saying, I think you hit on something that I really would like us to drive home. Innovation is the future of not just women's hockey, but of sport in general. And I think women's ice hockey has the opportunity to learn from what men's leagues did in the 70s, to learn what the the WNBA did in the 1990s, to learn what the NWSL did in the early 2000s, and be even better than that alongside with the innovation. So I don't think we really disagree. I think we're all on the same page. We just want to see something different.
All right, that's on the ice. I want to ask you all about off the ice. And Megan, let me start with you on this one. We are actually starting to see National Hockey League teams, men's teams, hiring women to do jobs in their franchises. How much of that is going on right now, and where do you see it going?
I think there's quite a bit. I mean, there's quite a bit through many sports and business in general, where companies are looking at their diversity, not just women, but in general, and realizing that there's huge gaps and there's a lot of great candidates that can fill those gaps. So, there's definitely no lack of talent from women in sports, and a lot of people, whether it's Megan Duggan or Kendall Coyne, that have had great hockey careers, or people like me, Alex Majurki, that are able to work from a different environment, from a more technical perspective. There's just so many gaps that, we can fill in these NHL teams very quickly. So that's really promising to see. I'd say other sports are definitely accelerated. You see, assistant coaches, you see referees. I think for the NFL, for the Super Bowl, we saw a woman on the sidelines. So there's a lot of cool movements and changes in sports. And I think hockey is next for a complete overhaul.
Well, Jacqueline, let me put up the cautionary flag here. In 2021, there were, in fact, 8 bench coaches in the National Football League. To the best of my knowledge, there's none in the National Hockey League. How come?
Great question. I think the most I guess junior A is the only person I've seen. What was her name? Mallory Rushton. She coached assistant coach junior A out in Nova Scotia. That's the highest level that I've seen at or coaching on a men's bench. When it comes to the NHL, I don't know. I always get back to, are the coaches coaching the players, or are they trying to have this tyrant mentality? I don't know. Would a female voice be beneficial? Maybe, but at the end of the day, I believe that men and women both have the feminine and masculine characteristics within themselves, but are the men willing to go there? I feel like the type of players these days are very different from 10, 15, 20 years ago. And there's more emotions, there's more awareness about mental health and how that affects people. And I know when I coached at UConn, again, it's women's hockey, it's not men's, but we had this DISC approach, and we put our players through all these personality tests and everything else. And we would be categorized by DISC, and whatever our players were, we would put their it's not a number, their DIS or C, the alphabet, and put it above their stall. And I knew then how to talk to players. So I knew that on the ice, if I had an SC that made a mistake and I wanted to make an example of her and call her out and yell and berate her, not that I would, but that would be the wrong person to do. A D personality could handle that and take it. So I knew now when to coach certain players in a certain way. So to get back to the NHL, I don't know, maybe I don't necessarily think it's a male-female thing. It's could the men do it? Absolutely. But they have to tap into that feminine side of themselves, or maybe bringing a female on would be able to provide that perspective of understanding their emotions, feeling their emotions, and listening.
Listening is a really good point to make, because I'm not sure there's a lot of male coaches who are really good at that, but we'll see. I do wonder, Erica, whether part of the problem is there's certainly an old school hockey mind that says, if I'm going to bring the most out of my players, I need to intimidate them. I need to make them fear me. And I wonder if part of the mindset here may be, can a female coach make a male player fear her? What do you think?
Well, I think that logic is antiquated on so many levels. It's outdated, especially because we have research that shows that that's not, to Jacqueline's point, the right approach for just, your average man walking down the street. Everyone reacts differently. There's so many different adult learning styles. And what I think that we're alluding to when it comes to hockey culture, sport culture, is that the presumption and the assumption that there's only one way to win, one way to coach, is headed out the door. I mean, Megan, I'm sure you can appreciate this, but with Moneyball, I come from a baseball background, I should say. So with the Moneyball, that completely revolutionized how baseball was played to the point where you still don't see a lot of small ball. And hockey has seen analytics, again, Megan, to the work that you do. We've seen analytics be integrated into the game. So there is a different way of thinking about how to coach. What I think, though, is that the hockey culture has not embraced fully how diversity at multiple entry points is only going to be for the better of the sport. We're talking about coaches, but let's look at who's on ice and how they're treated. Let's look at who's in the booth. Women like Blake Bolden, Sarah Nurse, being able to be analysts and commentate is just as important as who the bench bosses are. And I think, I believe, Jacqueline, you said there's something to what we would consider Gen Z. I don't think that Gen Z is attached in the same ways to some of that old school culture. And I'm hopeful that, again, women's hockey will follow the lead of the up and coming players and diversify to make the sport better.
Amen. Erica, Jacqueline, Megan, thanks so much for spending time with us on TVO tonight, and best of luck to all of you and women's hockey going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Athletes inducted into the Hall of Fame in their sport get that recognition for uncommon abilities and feats over their careers. But this spring, basketball did something remarkable. They recognized the contribution of a fan, a super fan, in their Hall of Fame. He is Nav Bhatia, known to all as the Toronto Raptors superfan. And he joins us now from Mississauga, Ontario, on how his fandom career led to that incredible acknowledgement. Nav, it is so good to meet you. I got to say, you look fantastic. Where did you get that jacket?
Thank you very much. This was given to me by the Roots. They designed it specially. I don't want to get up because there is a lot of things in the back also. They designed it after we won the championship, 2019 World Championship with the NBA, and they presented me with this one.
Now, I can't help but notice you've got a little bling on those fingers of yours. Do you want to do a little showing off there?
Well, this is the first time in the history of any sports a non-player getting a player ring, and this is the same ring which Kawhi and Lowry and everybody got it. But now I got to show you another one, the latest one with God's grace. This is the Hall of Fame ring. Once again, first time a non-player, a fan getting a ring from Hall of Fame. So, these are two rings. These are, my most precious jewelries, and I'm feeling like Liberace already.
Well, I won't ask you to play the piano for us tonight, but I do want to show you a clip of you being inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. This is something else. Go ahead, Tony. Let's roll that, please.
Congratulations. I'm speechless right now. Basketball changed my life. It gave this immigrant guy a chance to belong.
Nav, you went into the Hall of Fame at the same time as Kobe Bryant and Tim Duncan, who are plain and simply two of the best who ever played this game.
And
what
Kevin
did
Garnett,
that moment mean to you?
And Kevin Garnett. Those are
and
the
Kevin
three.
Garnett too.
Yes.
Let's not forget KG. Okay, but what did the moment mean to you?
Oh, I'm speechless. I am. It's something a fan doesn't dream of. As a fan, you can only dream to be a part of a winning team and then celebrate after the being the champion. You celebrate and you're a part of the celebration. You don't dream to be the grand marshal of the biggest sports parade. You don't dream to get the players ring, and then of course you never dream to get in the Hall of Fame, honored in Hall of Fame. And this is just all amazing. It's God's blessings.
You shared this on social media shortly after you were inducted to the Hall of Fame, and I'll read it here. You wrote, "I made a promise as a kid to my mom. I would never remove my turban. Today it is in the Hall of Fame. Embrace what makes you different. It is your superpower. This is the crown I wear each day. Thank you, Mom." I would like to elaborate, or I'd like to have you elaborate on the role that your Sikh faith and your mother played on this journey that you have been on.
Well, let me tell you, when they did the ribbon cutting, and I was in the front of the superfan gallery, and I saw into it. They had my jersey, the superfan jersey, which was given to me by Isaiah Thomas in 98-99. My chair A12, which I sit courtside, was there. My basketball was there. My replica of this championship ring was there. And then I saw this turban, white turban with my red band. And that was the turban I used during the Golden State run, the championship run. And I just started tearing up because I remembered when I was 16 years old, which is 53 years ago. I promised one day, my mom called me. She was a very tough, disciplinary kind of a woman. She called me and said, "Son, I want 3 things from you. I want you to promise." And she asked me not to drink, not to smoke, and not to take my turban off, and not to cut my hair. And I said, yes. I tell you, sometimes it's easy to say yes, but it's very hard to, for 53 years after that to follow it. But till date, I have been I kept my promise, and my mother was right there in front of me at the Hall of Fame, and I started tearing up. And now this turban is going to be there for everybody for the next so many years to come, for every Sikh to be proud about it. And I just tell you, I was speechless at that time.
Well, let's look at some of your background and figure out how you got to become the super fan in the first place. And I actually want to go back. Let's go back 40 years. I want to go back to the early 1980s of India. The prime minister of the time, Indira Gandhi, had been assassinated. There was all kinds of political turmoil in the air. There were anti-Sikh riots as well. How influential was all of that political turmoil in your family's decision to come to Canada?
Everything, because there was no safety for the Sikhs in our home or in our temple. We were massacred. They were putting, if they saw a Sikh with a turban and beard, they were putting a burning tire on our heads. Thousands and thousands were killed at that time. And that's the time when we as a family decided to get out of India. And me and my wife were the first one to come. And 6 years later, 7 years later, we were all able to migrate to this beautiful country, Canada.
Now, you are, I gather, a mechanical engineer by training. Did you try to find work in that field when you first came to Canada?
Of course I did. I tried so many places, but nobody wanted to hire somebody with a turban and beard at that time. So I started doing some odd jobs like janitorial, like landscaping, a painter. But I tell you one thing, I did it with passion. We Sikhs believe in the dignity of labor. We never ask for it. We never ask for handouts. We go and work hard. And I was a proud janitor. I was probably the best janitor ever. But I tell you one thing, finally, I got a job as a car salesman at Rexdale Hyundai. And, the very first day, I had some other speed bumps and all the salespeople making fun of me, calling me diaper head, towel head, and this head and all that. So, on that day, I decided, I said, hey, now, if you need to survive in this environment, you got to be better than good. And you know what? With God's grace and my hard work, I sold 127 cars in 3 months. That was a record then. It still is a record today. And rest is all history. I own 5 dealerships, 3 Hyundai dealerships, 2 Genesis with 270 employees, and God is good.
Nav, why didn't, when you ran into all that racism and name calling and all that terrible stuff, why didn't you just give up?
We don't give up. Giving up is not in our dictionary. I am brought up by a mother and a faith who is very strong. And we always, when somebody is trying to go low, we try to go high. And also, it is in my DNA to change the perception of the people. So, and that's what I do again and again and again. And I had a lot of speed bumps in my life, and they still happen. They happened during 2019 championship run with the Milwaukee fan. But again, we went high. And in the end, he is a friend of ours now. The guy who sort of tweeted out something negative about me, he became a friend of mine. I took him for a game. I took him for a dinner in Milwaukee. And the thing is, people don't know about the Sikhs, the people who don't know about the Sikhs. But overall, people are very good. And I always keep on saying 99.9%, doesn't matter what religion, what faith, what color you are, we are all the same.
I do have to ask how you got into basketball, because, of course, back in India, you would have been watching, I presume, cricket and field hockey more than basketball. So how did your love for basketball come around?
Well, you know what? When I came in 1984, for 10 years, I was working very hard. I was working over 100 hours a week, to climate myself and to make us comfortable. But then I used to watch basketball on the television with Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Dr. J, and all that. And when the Raptors arrived in Toronto, I decided to buy 2 tickets at that time. I could only afford 2 at the time. I have 13 now. But, the very first day I said, I'm going to try this game. And very first day, I fell in love with this game. It's the fastest game on this planet. It's the most entertaining game on the planet. And the way NBA has designed it, for 2.5 hours, you forget all the stresses, your family, your wife, your kids, you're in a different zone. And you know what? This game has given me lots and lots of entertainment. But during the last 4 or 5 years, I'm using this game through my charitable organization, Nav Bhatia Superfan Foundation. I'm using it to bring the world together through this beautiful game of basketball.
Now, Nav, I gotta take a poke at you for one thing you said there. You said it's the fastest game around. Nav, come on, hockey's faster than basketball. You'll grant that.
Well, yes, you can say that, but to me, this is the fastest. When you're playing basketball on a high level, it's fast, but it's the most entertaining. No hitting and no that. I think, to me, it's the most entertaining and the fastest game.
Now, you mentioned you've got 13 season tickets right now for the Raptors, which, of course, when they weren't playing here this past year, you couldn't use. But in a normal season, how much money are you spending on tickets every year?
More than I make.
So why do you do it?
That's why my wife keeps on telling me that, hey, now we would have our home free and clear and not have 3 mortgages on it, because you spend more money than you make on this game of basketball. That's why they call me addict of this game. And everybody's right when they call me an addict. But let me tell you, I work very hard. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't womanize, I only raptorize.
I was just going to read that because I know you put that up there. You say it's my only addiction. I don't drink, I
Yes.
don't smoke, I don't womanize, I raptorize.
Yeah.
That's a great line. Who gave you the title superfan?
Isaiah Thomas, who was our president and general manager in 98-99 season, Hall of Famer, he just one day called me. I mean, I was young at the time. I had a lot of energy. I used to shout and cheer my team. And I guess one day he picked me up out of the 30,000 people in Skydome and presented me with the jersey Superfan 1. And he gave me the title, and it changed my life.
Isn't that great? Do you follow any sports besides basketball?
Let me tell you one thing. Don't even give me any idea, because as it is, my married life is on a very thin ice, because I miss my wife's wedding anniversaries, I miss her birthdays and some other events. And I tell you one thing, if I start going into any of the sports, my divorce is for sure.
Now, Nav, why hasn't she thrown you out yet then?
Well, I guess because now she knows that we are doing good things with my fandom of basketball and superfan. We are helping I'm the global ambassador. I'm the only non-Christian ambassador for the biggest Christian organization, World Vision, and we are building washrooms. We just built 135 washrooms in 35 schools where the girls can continue their education, because there was no washroom in these schools where the girls can continue their education once their period starts, So, she knows we are doing good work in the community and as a human in the humanity. So she is becoming my rock. She and my daughter are becoming a rock, and my marriage is surviving.
That's wonderful. Is this possible? I know I hear this, but you've got to tell me if this is really on the level. You have not missed a single Raptor game ever?
Never missed a game. I almost did one time when I was running late on the highway QEW, but I decided that I'm running late. I'm going to miss my game, the beginning of the game. So I started driving on the shoulder, and I almost made it. And I was pulled over by a cop who came and was going to write me a ticket, but then he recognized that I'm the super fan. He says, "Oh, you the super fan Nav Bhatia?" I said, "Yes, sir." He says, "I'm going to let you go today, but don't do it again." And he escorted me to the arena, and I made my time right before the tip-off.
So this is 25 years of games, and they play like about 40 home games, right? Maybe more on a playoff year and so on. Have you done the math on how many games you've actually been to?
It's over 1,000 games. And, and I've gone to every playoff game Raptors have made. So, that's the record, and loving it. And I hope this coming season, we are going to be again right there in the, once they're playing in front of the arena, in front of the fans, we are going to roll back into the Eastern Conference top level, and we are going to be there in the playoffs.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about how this past year has been for you, because of course the Raptors were not playing in Canada this past year. And I guess did you go to any games this past year?
No, I didn't go to any game. It was not safe for the players and the family. It was not safe for me. I was stuck with my wife at home, and I watched it just like everybody else, watching the game out of the home. But my wife was very happy about that, but I wasn't. But again, next year in October, when the next season starts, I'm looking forward to be in the arena, and so are our team. The team is also looking forward to be playing in front of the fans, because they feed off the fans, and we are the best fans. The Raptors are the best fans, has the fan in the league. So we are looking forward for that.
Nav, can I just suggest that maybe when you answer that same question to other people, you don't say, "I was stuck at home with my wife watching the games at TV." She may not like it put quite that way.
Yeah, but that's the truth. What do you want to, and she knows it too. She's laughing. She says, "Oh, now you have no other choice." So we are having fun with it, but let me tell you to everybody, she's my rock. Okay, my daughter and my wife are my rock. We have fun, all these things, and she knows that, with all the fun I'm getting out of the Raptors and basketball, and in the end, we are doing good things. We are helping the young kids. We are impacting the life of the young kids. We are giving the hopes to the young kids. We are building basketball courts. Next month, we are going to be building our 4 basketball courts in Malton, on Derry and Galway. So, all the good things are happening.
That's in Mississauga. I'm going to have Tony Burke bring a picture up here right now. And then once you see this picture, I want you to tell me who's the bigger Raptor fan in this picture. The guy on the left, who may have a few gold records along his way, or the guy on the right, who's now in the Basketball Hall of Fame?
Well, you know what? He's our global ambassador. He has done so good for the city. He has done so good for the country to bring the Raptors in front of the whole world. And he's a very dear friend of mine, and I love him.
Have you been up to Drake's house?
Not yet. It has been during the COVID, and I don't want to take any chances for his sake and my sake.
Gotcha. Nav, you do realize you are like an immense celebrity. Are you okay with that?
I don't know. I don't feel any different. You know, I feel the same. Little immigrant trying to make a living in the big city. I'm enjoying it, and I'm getting a lot of love with the fans. You know, yesterday I was at a gas station, and there were like 10 to 14 motorcycle bikers, you know, and they stopped me, and we took we chit chat for 20 minutes, and these bikers were, just stopping over to have some, I think, cold drink or whatever, and they stopped me, and the love they gave me, I was just surprised. And so it's the love which is I'm getting from everywhere right now. I'm just very blessed to be a part of that. And I go to Tim Hortons. There are a lot of people, young kids and everybody, they all come off. I was at a car wash, like I said yesterday, there were 10 people in the line. Everybody came and started taking a picture. And it's all good, but I think I'm just I'm just an immigrant trying to make a living in a big city. That's the way I feel, and God has been good. I'm blessed. I have more than I deserve.
It's interesting. When you first got to Canada, you pointed out how people used to tease you because of the turban that you wear. And now it really is your calling card. Like that's one of, if not your most distinguishing feature. What do you think that says about Canada over the last 35 years that you've been here?
That's what our strength is. Diversity is our strength. That's why I always say, if there is a heaven on this earth, it's right here in Canada. And I always tell, whenever I speak to the younger in the schools and all that, I keep on telling them, hey, please take care of our future. Make sure diversity is our big strength. And that's what it is. Look at that, the love I'm getting in the Tim Hortons, the car washes everywhere. I don't think they don't see the color, they don't see the turban, they just consider me as their brother and says, this is an amazing feeling. I'm so blessed, and I hope it rubs off to the other part of the world.
Okay, here's my hardest question of all. Who's your favorite Raptor player?
Now or ever?
Ever.
Vince Carter, 15.
Vince Carter.
Vince Carter, 15. And you know why? Not because he was the best dunker ever, not because he was very athletic. What he did for our country, Canada, he inspired so many young people during that time in year 2000. And we used to have the camp bringing 600 kids every year right after the season was over. Most of the time, superstars take the next flight and they're out of the country. But he was there, stayed here for 7 days and spent 7 days with the 600 kids. And that's the reason today in the NBA we have more than 20 people who are playing basketball in a super level, like Wiggins, like Corey Joseph, Tristan Thompson, Murray, all those guys. And I tell you, the credit goes to him, kudos to him. And what he did during that time, the impact he made on Canada and this young generation which is in the NBA today.
He's going to be in the Hall of Fame someday, Nav, but you know what? You got there first.
He told me that. He was one of the first one to call me right after, during the time the ceremony was going. And he said he was proud. And somebody was teasing to him from the NBA. He was ahead of you. I said, don't tease that to him, because I respect Vince very much. Even when I was there, let me tell you, even when I'm being honored in the Hall of Fame, I'm taking all the players who have played for the Raptors, all the fans, Raptors fans, and all the basketball fans are with me in that gallery at Hall of Fame.
Wonderful. We got another picture we want to show here. Here's you and, a guy who's played a little bit of basketball for the Raptors over the last many years. He's from Philadelphia originally.
Yes.
Are you guys buddies? You and Kyle Lowry, are you buddies?
Him and his wife, his wife, I talk more to his wife than him, but, he's an amazing guy. He's our journal, and he has changed the culture in Toronto. He has made the winning culture along with Masai Ujiri, So, yes, we have a lot of respect for him.
And I got another picture for you here. Again, your turban is part of your calling card. It's part of your brand, if you like. And so is this. You do this at the games all the time with the towel, the swinging of the towel, and it just gets people really going. Where did this idea come from?
Oh, I've been doing that for the longest time. I had used to have a horn, and I used to have a towel from the beginning. And funny enough, you're showing that picture. Last year, Giannis, Greek the Freak, he tweeted out that of all the fans and of all the arenas, the Raptors arena is the toughest to play because superfan gets into his head. That's what he wrote. And and that's true, because we lost in the championship run. We first lost 2 games to Milwaukee in that run. In the 3rd game, when he came here, he missed 6 free throws and we won the game. And I guess I was given the credit for that win.
Having said that, you'd love it if the Raptors signed him, wouldn't you?
Oh, it's okay. But I think he signed there. He's playing for Milwaukee. I don't think I have the hope right now that in the next few years he is going to come. He's working on getting them a championship, and more power to him. You know what? I want to let you know that I love all the ballers. I love all the ballers. I love all the opposing coaches and opposing ballers and the referees. Only for 48 minutes when we are playing, I'm on a Raptors and I have to pick on them. But before the game and after the game, we are all brothers and we break the bread together.
Well, my last question may be the easiest, and that is, was 2019, the year the Raptors won it all, was that the best year of your life?
It changed my life further. Yes, it was. It was so satisfying. And the things which happened, like I'm on the coach side in Oakland, sitting next to Steve Kerr, the bench, the Golden State bench. And we won the championship. And the first people who come and congratulate me are Steve Kerr and the Golden State team, and Steph Curry, all those guys, Green, all those guys. And then 3 days later, I'm the Grand Marshal of the biggest parade ever in the history of sports. And then on October 22nd, 2019, getting this championship ring. I tell you. And then now, getting the Hall of Fame. This is somebody a fan cannot dream of. But God is good, and I'm going to take it as a blessing.
Nav, you are a legend, and we're so grateful that you spared some time for us on TVO tonight. I sure hope the team gets back on this side of the border for next season, and we can see you in your familiar place at Scotiabank Arena once again.
Thank you very much. Stay safe.
And that is the agenda for Tuesday, June the 8th, 2021. Restaurant patios can reopen as of Friday, and we'll check in tomorrow on whether it's enough to keep that sector alive. I'm Steve Paikin. Thanks for watching TVO, for joining us online at tvo.org, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.